The Trump administration is accusing more than 40 countries of helping China illegally dodge President Trump's tariffs. It is the White House trade report entitled The Great Transshipment Scam, and on its cover, an image of a Trojan horse. The alleged scheme works much like the Trojan horse. China is accused of routing exports to the US through third countries that have lower US tariff rates. It's an old trick. There's nothing new about what is being done. But in an op-ed in the New York Times, the Trump advisor Peter Navarro said preferential access to the American market is not a license to launder somebody else's exports. And he reiterated the United States is cracking down on this.
Every country in the world is allowed to cheat us under the World Trade Organization rules. And that should just blow your mind to begin with. The rules of the WTO allow other countries of the world to charge us higher tariffs, erect higher non-tariff barriers, and there's nothing we can do about it except for Donald Trump and his reciprocal tariffs program that he's putting in place.
Now, Navarro traces the so-called Great Transshipment Scam back to the first tariffs in the first administration. The White House has singled out the US trading partner Canada as one of China's, in their words, biggest enablers. It also names the EU, India, Israel, Japan, Mexico, South Korea and Taiwan as the so-called Tier 1 group. With me now, Goldy, Hyder, the President and CEO for the Business Council of Canada, representing all the major companies in Canada. Sir, thank you for joining us. I'm very grateful. Look, first of all, do you reject this idea that Canada is one of the biggest enablers, that the transshipment of Chinese goods through Canada to the US is a way of avoiding tariffs?
Well, thank you for having me, Richard. And yes, we reject that. The reality is we have an agreement that we're all trying to be compliant with to prevent that from happening. And we would need a significant amount of evidence to show that that's taking place. We're all aligned in making sure that the way we manage this trade agreement is to adhere to the things that we've all signed on for and to ensure that there are no violations taking place. Anything that's been done has been done openly and transparently by the countries that are involved. So I think there are broader issues there that will get addressed on the quote unquote rules of origin issue, but that will be an issue dealt with during the process of the review and renewal of the USMCA agreement.
Okay, assuming, of course, that the president decides he will go ahead in that, which is a very big assumption. But let's drill down into the sort of the third round of tariffs, which are due to come into force on Wednesday. Sources are telling us that there are high-level, frequent talks between President Trump and Prime Minister Carney. What's your understanding of the latest situation?
Well, look, the process that's underway with the USTR and Canada's trade negotiation team has been making progress. We are cautiously optimistic that they're doing the hard work of addressing how to prevent these 338 tariffs as they're known to come on August the 19th, while at the same time, our government's priority has been to reduce the 232 tariffs, as they're known, on steel, auto, lumber, and others, to bring that rate down, if nothing else, to bring it down. In a perfect world, of course, it would be zero, but we've now entered a world in which free trade includes tariffs. So the process that's working its way through, Ambassador Greer has been very clear. He needs to take an options or set of options before the president. He intends to do that next week. Our own side is briefing our prime minister, and I think in the nature of these negotiations, there will be some progress. They may pull back and they may move forward.
But the reality is, look, whether you get over this or you get over that, whatever is the issue du jour, the president, the US president, does believe that the United States has been badly done by Canada. Let's forget whether it's going to become a part of the Union. He believes that Canada has taken advantage of the United States, and therefore nothing seems to be able to shift that view.
On the contrary, look, this agreement was signed by this president. He had called it the greatest agreement of all time. It was so good, I point out to Republicans, that the Democratic administration maintained it and kept it in place. We are working towards its review and renewal, despite the fact that the United States has indicated it may want to withdraw from it. The proof point, of course, is this has been successful for, first and foremost, the United States of America. It has created 14 million jobs. It has given them access to oil, potash, uranium, oil, gas, energy, you name it. They're being able to get it. Is it perfect? No agreement is perfect. Has it been implemented exactly the way all three sides envisioned it? Clearly not, because all three sides have issues that they're working through. Some cases in a bilateral process, United States, Canada, in other cases, United States and Mexico. But all of these roads are going to need to merge underneath the review and renewal of the USMCA, because our supply chains are integrated capital forms in that environment.
And yet, I mean, I listened to your answer carefully, but the rhetoric from the US president, and I understand that most people in Canada sort of try to, in policy positions, try to dance around it and point to facts and point to how things are actually on the ground. But the president has it in for Canada.
Richard, I don't know about that. He says he likes Canada. He likes Canadians. I think in many ways, he envies what Canada has. We have a lot of resources. We have, a geography and a proximity. We have a lot of water. He looks at Canada, I think, and says, boy, I sure wish I had a lot of those things. The reality is the trade agreement enables him and the United States to benefit from having Canada as a neighbor. We have an agreement. We should honor that agreement. We're working towards the review and renewal of that agreement. We know the president prefers tariffs over all else, but the reality is our three business communities in Canada, US, and Mexico have all made it very clear to all administrations. We want a timely, trilateral review and renewal of an agreement that provides tariff exemptions on things that are compliant, and that's what we're working towards.
Goldy, I'm grateful for you joining us tonight, and certainly have a good weekend. Thank you, sir.